Hi, good morning, everybody. My name is Molly. I'm from the Bureau of Student Wellness at the New Hampshire Department of Education, and I want to thank you for joining us this Friday morning for our coffee chat. I want to give people just a minute to get the Facebook Live notification and to join the conversation this morning. And while I do that, I want to encourage everybody to like and subscribe to our social media accounts. We're on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. I want to encourage everybody to like and subscribe to all of those so you can get notified every time we go live. We also have our resource website, nhlearnsremotely.com. And if you want to share with us how you're staying well, be sure to use the hashtag NHLearnsRemotely. So another quick update is that this is going to be our last week that we go live with our regularly scheduled sessions at 9 a.m. and 3 p.m. We are going to be shifting our schedule in the coming months as we move into summer, and we're going to cover these changes in our afternoon session today at 3 p.m. So be sure to tune in on YouTube. We'll also share the link here on Facebook as well. But you'll hear from staff from the Bureau of Student Wellness, where we're going to continue the conversation about self-care and also cover those schedule changes. We still plan on coming to you guys weekly to share topics of wellness, but it's going to look a little different. So as always, our goal is to create a community where we can share resources and share ideas. So I encourage everybody to use the chat feature to share your thoughts, feelings, and just spread the feeling of community. So today's topic of discussion is self-care. I know we've definitely covered this topic before. We are the Bureau of Student Wellness after all. But when we think about self-care, it often leads us down this path of eat right, exercise, get enough sleep, you're doing self-care. And all of these ideas are important toward the topic of self-care. But sometimes it's not always possible to integrate those self-care strategies, and sometimes it can actually be stressful and more stressful than relaxing to do, to eat right, exercise every single day. And self-care is important. It can help reduce stress. It can increase productivity. It can build resiliency and improve your overall health. So we don't want the act of trying to incorporate all these self-care strategies to induce anxiety. We want it to be a desirable part of our day. We want you to look forward to self-care. It should be relaxing or calming in some way. So rather than giving you specific self-care strategies, I want to talk about how we think about self-care and think about ways we can reframe our thinking to induce these feelings of calm. So the first one might seem obvious, but you should like to do your self-care routine. One thing I always like to remind people is that self-care shouldn't feel like work. You shouldn't experience feelings of guilt for not doing your specific self-care strategy. I know I tell myself yoga is self-care because it's good for me and it's good for, your calming body and calming mind. But sometimes I'll see my yoga mat curled up in the corner and I'll feel feelings of guilt that I haven't stepped onto my mat in a while. What that tells me is that yoga probably isn't a form of self-care for me. It might be a good workout, but framing my yoga practice as self-care is only exacerbating my need for more self-care because I experience these negative feelings when I don't do it. So I want to encourage everybody to find a strategy for self-care that you actually want to do and you look forward to doing. That way you won't feel feelings of guilt for not practicing. You'll actually just look forward to your self-care strategy. The second way to reframe our thoughts is that self-care will look different for different people. Not just what we choose to do for self-care, but how much self-care we really need to be taking right now. For example, we all have different levels of personal resiliency. Some of us might need more self-care than others right now, based on resiliency or other individualized factors that we're experiencing. This is why I'm not giving you specific self-care strategies, but simply offering up ways to think about how we approach self-care, because it is highly individualized. So I encourage everybody to take stock of what your body and mind needs and find ways to support those needs. This is a crucial step in effective self-care. If your body really needs rest, going for a vigorous run is not going to induce calm and relaxation. It wouldn't support your needs. So find time to take stock of what you need and find strategies to support that. The third way to reframe your thinking about self-care is to think about self-regulation. I like to say that anything is self-care if it helps you self-regulate. So before I dig into that, I want to talk about what self-regulation really is. It's the ability to respond to the ongoing demands of an experience with a range of emotions in socially tolerable and sufficiently flexible ways. All that is to say, self-regulation is the ability to experience something, maybe something challenging, and react in an appropriate way. I'm sure we've all had those feelings of being overwhelmed and just exploding with emotion at something rather innocuous or, completely unrelated. And that means you were probably misdirecting your anger or stress and most likely dysregulated. So finding strategies to regulate ourselves is a form of self-care. Sometimes this might mean that self-care is simply talking to somebody who calms you or listening to music you enjoy. Self-care is truly just being aware that we need to care for ourselves, particularly as the demands of life increase upon us. So like I said before, self-regulation and self-care is not going to look the same for everybody. And in that spirit, what one person does to self-regulate and self-care might look completely different for somebody else, or might completely dysregulate somebody else. So I want to encourage everybody to do their own research and try out their own strategies. I'm going to provide a quick link in the comments to an article from Very Well Mind. They cover the topic of self-regulation, and they provide some strategies that you can think about incorporating into your own practice. So that should be a link there in the chat for you guys. And then I want to move on to our fourth way of reframing self-care. And that's thinking about when we need self-care. It's not just for times of distress. While self-care is definitely more needed when we're experiencing feelings of stress or being overwhelmed, having an established self-care routine in a time of calm can help limit those feelings of distress when you are in an emergency or a tough situation. We know it's proven that exercise can help improve your health and stress, and including exercise might be a good first step if you find yourself in a stressful situation right now. But like I've said a few times before, self-care is individualized to our own life experiences. Think about how you experience things of calm in times of anxiety, and think about what you need in times of calm and how those things shift in a time of stress. And the fifth and final strategy to reframe our thinking I'll leave us with is to start small and to be kind to yourself. Choose one thing you can do for yourself and begin working it into your daily routine. Experiencing success with this one type of self-care will encourage you to continue your self-care journey. So if we start with a bunch of self-care strategies at once and try them all out because we're so excited, it has the potential to overwhelm us and ultimately lead to feelings of failure if we can't maintain all of those self-care strategies. So starting small and being kind is the keys to success here. In all of our endeavors, I want to encourage everybody to think about small ways we can care for ourselves so that we're better equipped to care for others. As always, if you enjoyed today's coffee chat, I want to encourage you to check all of our previously recorded sessions. We have them here on Facebook, and we're also putting them over on YouTube as well. And I also want to share one more link with you. It's from the American Psychological Association's SelfCare Resource Center. So if you want to learn more about self-care and its benefits, I encourage you to check this link out as well. And I encourage everybody to like and follow to our social media accounts. To come by later at 3 p.m., we're going to be sharing about our schedule changes. And I encourage everybody to stay well. Have a great Friday.